I, 39F, am married to Dave, 44M, and he has a son named Avery, 19M, and an ex-wife named Diana, 42F. Avery has always been hostile towards me, blaming me for his parents' divorce, despite his dad not meeting me until 3 years later. I have tried my best to spend time with Avery and been respectful of all the boundaries he set. However, Avery still hates me. It was fine with me, as long as he didn't treat me poorly because of his hatred. Well, Avery started treating me poorly when he found out his dad was marrying me. He threw a fit, claiming his dad needed his permission before marrying me, and that he wouldn't come to the wedding. His dad and I let it slide, and we sat down with Avery and Diana to try and figure out why he was upset. It didn't work, and Avery refused to see us until the wedding. At our wedding, Avery objected to us being married in front of everyone and later asked to make a speech. In his speech, he told everyone what a horrible person I was, that I was responsible for his parents' divorce, and that I was a dirty homewrecker. Dave drove Avery back to Diana's, but the damage was done and several wedding guests assumed Avery was telling the truth. My wedding night was ruined because of this, and a good part of my family refuses to speak to me despite my explaining to them that this was not the case. Avery has continued to treat me poorly since then. Once, he got mad at me and dropped my cat off a shelter 2 towns over, refusing to tell me where he was until he'd been put down. I wanted to keep my wedding dress after the wedding, and he tore it to shreds. These are only 2 examples of the mistreatment that Avery has done to me over the years, and sadly, there's many more. The last straw happened last Wednesday. Dave and I had Avery over for dinner because Avery actually wanted to come. Long story short, when I went to get dessert and Dave wasn't there, Avery confronted me in the kitchen, began screaming at me, and told me that I was a horrible person, along with some other not-so-nice things. Dave eventually came in, Avery left, and I got upset. I told Dave that I was tired of his son constantly attacking me and treating me poorly because of something he knows didn't happen, and that I'd put up with his behavior for the last 6 years. I told him that he had to make a choice between me and Avery because I wasn't putting up with Avery's mistreatment any longer, and if it was a requirement of being married to Dave, I'd be filing for divorce. Dave told me it wasn't fair to make him make this decision, and I told him it might not have been fair, but it wasn't fair of him to let his son harass and attack me for years. Update 1. To start, about 2 weeks after my post, Avery seriously injured me. Dave allowed him to spend time with him, and I was making myself lunch. To make a long story short, Avery grabbed a knife from the knife block, and I had to be rushed to the hospital. He didn't try to delete me, he just wanted to cause great harm to me, and he did. I filed a police report, but Avery said I harmed myself to get him in trouble and there wasn't enough evidence to make an arrest, and somehow Dave was furious with me for reporting it in the first place. As soon as I was released, I ran. I'm currently staying with my sister and am safe. I filed for divorce, and I'm working on getting a restraining order. I'm also going to work on getting myself into therapy once the world isn't going crazy, though that might take a while. I definitely need it. To those who are calling me just as bad for not leaving right away, I know, I'm a huge pushover, and way too much of an optimist for my own good. I'll answer some questions from the previous post. I would have answered them there, but the post was locked because people can't be civil. What age was Avery when you and Dave got married? He was 17 at the time, but I've known him since he was 13. I dated Dave for 4 years, and have been married to Dave for 2 years. How did Avery just drop my cat off at a shelter? The shelters around where I live are high deletion. My guess is that he dropped my cat off and claimed he was a stray. Then he waited a month and told me that he was the one who got rid of my cat. What aren't you telling? You've left out a lot of the story, and you won't tell anyone what you've done that is probably just as bad, etc. Here's what I left out. When I met Avery, I was very upfront with him. I told him I wasn't his mom, and I wouldn't act like his mom. Then he started becoming hostile and openly hateful toward me. At first, it was just him screaming and throwing tantrums, and stealing little things, like items from my small snack stash, little trinkets of mine, small gifts his dad sometimes got me, etc. Then it escalated to him destroying things, like taking photos off the wall and throwing them against the ground as hard as he could, sticking things into the garbage disposal, dumping makeup into the toilet, and eventually destroying the couch with a pair of scissors. Eventually, it turned to full-on threats. I lost my temper with him every so often and would call Diana in front of him to tell her about what he was doing. The most parenting I would do was send him to his room if he was destroying something. When he dropped my cat off at the shelter, I screamed at him and cried. I told him he was a horrible person. After he messed up my wedding, the next time I saw him, I asked him what he thought he was doing and got into a screaming match with him. So to sum up the answer to that question, not much. I can count on one hand the number of times I've actually been mean to him, as in sending him to his room or getting into a screaming match with him. Why did Dave and Diana divorce? When Diana came to visit me in the hospital, I asked, and this is her answer, Dave wouldn't be a parent to Avery, as in, he wanted to be more of Avery's friend than a parent, and he was never home. Dave works from around 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening and passes out pretty quickly after he gets home. Why didn't I leave after my cat was put down? No clue, I should have left. How did Avery get the mic to make a toast after objecting? Dave thought his precious angel was just having a hard time and would shape up. Update 2. I've officially been divorced for 3 months and just got my restraining order against Avery, who is currently waiting for a court date because he broke into his mother's house. Avery tried getting a small arm from Diana's safe and got caught on camera doing it. I'm far away from it all, and I'm glad at this point. Update 3. Dave apparently ended up dating someone else after our divorce was finalized. I found out through Facebook. He stayed with this woman for about 2 months, and then they broke up. I actually happen to know the reason why because she made a post on her own account. Avery showed up at her house threatening to delete her while he was intoxicated. This happened at around the same time he got caught trying to steal from Diana's safe, so I'm just going to put 2 and 2 together and say that I think I know why he went for the small arm. Avery ended up being arrested for it, though I don't think he was charged with anything. If he was, I don't think he had to serve any time. This happened about a year ago, and about 3 months ago I got a call from Diana. We didn't talk much after I left because I believe she figured it would be easier for me to not have to hear about any of that anymore. Avery ended up passing away, and it was ruled a self-deletion, though they're not exactly sure if that's the case. It happened at a party, and that's what everyone else said apparently. Somehow, he ended up with something dangerous, and they think he deleted himself. I'm not sure I totally believe that, but I don't want to think about it too much. It's definitely plausible. Avery spiraled pretty badly after I ran. I feel somewhat sorry for Dave, but I mostly feel sorry for Diana. Their kid was an awful human being, but they didn't deserve to go through the pain of losing him. No matter how I felt about him and the awful things he did to me, I couldn't bring myself to feel happy that he's deleted. I'm relieved, if that makes sense, but I'm not happy about it. It feels like it would be wrong to be happy about it. I did end up getting myself into therapy after I got settled. I've been looking back at some of the things I wrote when it was all initially going on, and honestly, I'm kind of alarmed with how little I reacted to the things that were happening. I feel like I was just exhausted at the time. I brought it up to my therapist, and she told me it was probably just my way of trying not to break down with everything happening around me, but I'm in a much better place now. I'm looking into getting myself a new cat, and I've even opened myself up to the idea of dating again. That being said, I don't think there will be another update. I might post some pictures of my new cat, but I'm happy to say that the chapter of my life with Dave and Avery in it is over and far behind me.